They control with emotion. We reveal the pattern. Psych Atlas.
They aren't overwhelmed by their schedule. They are systematically rationing their presence to maintain absolute control over your nervous system. The average person mistakes this calculated starvation for a busy lifestyle. This is called breadcrumbing. Instead of committing, they keep you tethered with digital scraps, a random text, a hollow compliment. It functions exactly like a slow drip anesthetic. You feel numb, yet hooked. The silence between their messages is not an accident. It is a calculated behavioral void designed to make you crave their validation. They disappear, knowing your anxiety rapidly builds their perceived value. While you analyze their mixed signals, endlessly searching for hidden meaning, they are expending absolutely zero emotional effort. You are decoding a puzzle that does not exist. They simply watch you try. There are 7 psychological markers of this manipulation. Once you see the hidden architecture of their game, their false busy excuse instantly collapses. The first proof is the most insidious weapon they possess. What they do when you finally stop responding will reveal their true psychological motive, and it is not what you expect. When they retreat into silence, they trigger a primal neurological trap. Stanford neuroendocrinologist Robert Sapolsky proved that dopamine doesn't peak when you receive a reward. It peaks during anticipation. Their unpredictable behavior acts as a hidden biological tripwire. By offering only a 50% chance of connection, they maximize your chemical craving. You are no longer interacting with a person, you are interacting with a randomized behavioral algorithm. Clinical psychologists call this destructive cycle intermittent reinforcement. It is the exact same conditioning used to manufacture gambling addicts. Hope is weaponized. They will insist they are entirely consumed by a chaotic schedule. Do not be deceived by this carefully constructed facade. They are actively curating their absence to establish absolute dominance. The second proof exposes their true calculated nature. They possess an uncanny ability to sense when you are finally pulling away. Just as your nervous system begins to heal, they strike. They drop a precise, low-effort crumb designed to shatter your progress and drag you back into the labyrinth. Here is the brutal truth you are desperately trying to avoid. You are not merely an innocent victim in this dynamic. You are the silent engine powering their entire illusion. The third proof is your own mental gymnastics. They send a meaningless, empty text, and you immediately act as a defense attorney for a ghost. You invent their missing context. They never actually need to lie because you happily do the heavy lifting for them. You manufacture complex, elaborate excuses for their absence. You interpret their cold silence as hidden depth. This phenomenon is known as outsourced emotional labor. By offering absolutely zero clarity, they force your anxious brain to resolve the ambiguity. Your mind fills the dark gaps with hope. Every time you decode a mixed signal, you are sinking deeper into their trap. You are not communicating with them anymore. You are simply negotiating with your own abandonment wounds. The moment you stop projecting your empathy onto their silence, you will notice a terrifying fourth proof hidden in plain sight. The fourth proof reveals the exact mechanics of their control. When you exhaust your empathy and begin to walk away, they instantly resurface. This is not a sudden realization of your worth. They are reacting to a loss of supply. You are experiencing what economists call artificial scarcity. By restricting access, they manipulated your perception, making a cheap connection feel like a rare commodity. Here is the fifth proof. They strictly rely on your social conditioning. You were taught to be patient, to give the benefit of the doubt. They use your virtue as a paralyzing agent. Every time you accept a low-effort message without consequence, you train them. You silently rewrite the rules of engagement, signaling that your boundaries are merely suggestions. You are disrespecting yourself. They are not a mastermind playing a brilliant game. They are simply throwing a copper coin into a deep well. You are the one choosing to dive into the dark water. But there is a sixth proof. A physiological response so deeply buried that once you recognize it, their illusion of power vanishes forever. The sixth proof is not behavioral. It is purely physiological. When they vanish, your amygdala interprets their sudden absence as an immediate survival threat. They are hacking your autonomic nervous system. Your body floods with cortisol, inducing a state of painful hypervigilance. The random message they eventually send acts as a chemical antidote. You are not feeling love. You feel relief. They are functioning like a venomous predator that occasionally offers the anti-venom. It is a brilliant, vicious cycle. You mistake the sudden cessation of your own pain for profound romantic chemistry. People always ask if they know what they are doing. The dark truth is that conscious intent is entirely irrelevant. A parasite does not need to understand complex host biology. It simply knows which vital arteries to tap for survival. They recognize that your confusion guarantees their steady supply of validation. Your emotional exhaustion is their preferred operating environment. The final, seventh proof is the ultimate mask they wear right before disappearing entirely. And shockingly, it looks exactly like raw vulnerability. They will suddenly confess their deepest fears. They will claim they are too broken for a real connection. This is not honesty. It is a preemptive strike against your expectations. By weaponizing their own trauma, they effectively disarm your anger. You cannot punish a wounded animal. You lower your standards, convincing yourself that your endless patience will eventually heal them. This brings us to the absolute darkest implication of breadcrumbing. They are not just wasting your valuable time. They are actively recalibrating your psychological baseline for what constitutes acceptable human behavior. In 1957, Leon Festinger identified cognitive dissonance. To survive the friction between their neglect and your effort, your brain alters reality. You start relabeling emotional starvation as a complex romance. You slowly learn to survive on these toxic scraps. You begin viewing basic human consistency as a grand romantic gesture. The real tragedy is not their manipulation. You have helped them build the cage, but escaping it requires a single, ruthless psychological move they will never anticipate. The only way to dismantle this algorithm is a complete behavioral override. When they offer a breadcrumb, you do not respond with a feast. You instantly mirror their emotional deficit. Remove the psychological prize they have grown accustomed to extracting from you. They rely on your predictable anxiety to validate their own ego. Deny them that specific neurological supply. Your most devastating weapon is not a dramatic confrontation. It is absolute, unexplainable silence. You initiate a tactical emotional blackout. You do not explain your absence, you enforce it. Here is what nobody tells you about that intense spark you feel. It is not chemistry. It is merely the panic of a dysregulated nervous system begging for stability. True power lies in recalibrating your baseline. A maybe is always a no. You finally see the pattern for what it is, and you simply refuse to participate any longer. But there is one final, inevitable consequence when a manipulator loses their favorite target, and it will happen exactly when you stop caring. When you cut their supply, you trigger what behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner termed the Extinction Burst. They will suddenly become the flawless partner you originally envisioned. Do not be fooled. This sudden surge of intense effort is not an epiphany. It is merely the panic of a collapsing architecture. They are rapidly trying to repair the invisible circuitry of your compliance. The most devastating psychological response is to let their sudden efforts echo in a completely barren room. You do not need to punish them. Their own reflection will do that. You finally understand the game. You were never asking for too much. You were simply trying to draw blood from a stone. True psychological dominance begins when you walk away. But breadcrumbing is just one phase. Once they realize this tactic has failed, they will deploy an entirely different weapon. They will begin weaponizing your own empathy against you. In the next video, we will dissect the victim illusion and why their tears are the most dangerous manipulation tactic of all. Most people will ignore this truth and willingly return to the labyrinth. But you are not most people. Like this video to solidify your awareness, and subscribe to Psych Atlas. We decode the dark, so you remain in control.